Hello, welcome to the webinar. We'll begin shortly, and I see our team attendees are streaming in. Well, good morning, Cameron. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to Okay, so welcome everybody to today's webinar, The Basic Steps to Starting a Business in New Mexico. My name is Christopher Garcia, and I'm the Business Development Specialist at the SBDC at UNM Valencia campus. We created this webinar off of a great document on our website called The Basic Steps to Starting a Business. My contact information is on the slide, and a PDF of the slides will be emailed to you. I also have a link that you can access right away, and I'll chat that out to everybody now. Let me make sure it goes out to everybody. So here is a link to the follow-up email to this webinar, and you could start looking at it right away. Before we begin, let's go over some webinar ground rules. Everybody on the call right now is muted, so don't worry about background noise. Only I have to worry about that. There's a feature to raise your hand, and I'll use it throughout the webinar to make sure everything's flowing. So, and if you can't see or hear us at any point in time, please raise your hand so I know something's going on. In fact, if you could see the slides and hear me speak, can you raise your hand for me? Perfect. Okay, you guys are zooming pretty well today. And there's a Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. So if you have a question during our presentation, please enter it into the Q&A. In fact, so I know the Q&A is working, can you put a hi, hello, how are you into the Q&A for me? Hi, Enrique. Hi, Cameron, I'm doing well. I hope you are too. Hi, Kulu. Nice to see you. Hi, Alex. Hi again, Rojo. Sylvia, hi, I'm doing well. Thank you. I hope you are too. Hi, Susan. I'm doing well. I hope you are too. And hi, Ethan. Thanks for joining me today. All the slides are numbered. So if you have a question about or want to revisit a particular slide, just put the slide number in the Q&A for me. Perfect. We're doing good. Here's a graphic of our center locations throughout New Mexico. The mission of the SBDC is to build skilled entrepreneurs and strong businesses by offering no-cost confidential business counseling and lower no-cost training events like this one. And I'm going to tell you more about the SBDC in the next few slides. Before we move on, I want you to notice the powered by the SBA at the bottom of the screen. We are funded in part by the SBA in the state of New Mexico. And this is your tax dollars at work, so I appreciate you attending today. This slide includes 3 topics for upcoming workshops and trainings. QuickBooks online, we're going to have one in the fall, and that one fills up fast, and I think I cap it at 60. So if you're interested in learning more about QuickBooks online, register for that. We have our cybersecurity that we've been doing, not so much the 6-part series, but our sister organization, PTAC, where the Procurement Technical Assistance Center does those for us. You could view all of our webinars online at www.nmsbdc.org. Here's the agenda for today's training. I'm going to tell you more about the SBDC, talk to you about our pre and post surveys for this training, get into the basic steps, and review and demonstrate our excellent research tools, and they are excellent. Then take questions. I'll ask you to raise your hand during the presentation. And in fact, I like to see where everybody's coming from in New Mexico. So if you are coming from central New Mexico today, would you raise your hand for me? So Albuquerque metro area. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That's my home. Perfect. How about northeast New Mexico? So maybe Clayton area. Tucumcari. I don't see any northeasterners today. How about northwest? Maybe the Farmington area. Wow, thank you for joining me all the way from that area. How about the southeast? So maybe the Lovington area, Carlsbad. Oh, wow, thank you for joining me all the way from the southeast. And how about the southwest? Maybe the Boot Hill, Deming, Silver City area. Nobody today. It looks like we have a diagonal bingo going down New Mexico, so that's good. So from the northwest to the southeast. Now let's talk about the services of the SBDC. Again, we offer two major services: confidential business counseling and low or no-cost business trainings. There are no limits to how much no-cost counseling you can receive or how many events you can attend. And we have centers throughout New Mexico, so there'll be one close to you. If you look at the graphic in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, it shows what we do: renew, grow, launch, and start up small businesses. This slide shows what we expect from our clients. My fellow business advisors and center directors want you to succeed, so you'll be assigned homework or further research. So please do the work necessary to succeed. We can't make decisions for you or offer tax or legal advice. We could only connect you to the information you need to make educated decisions. And part of making educated decisions is working with licensed professionals like attorneys and certified public accountants to obtain the best advice. Next, I want to remind you about important surveys we send out as part of attending these trainings. Everyone who registered for this webinar received an email from, I believe it's me, saying, in anticipation of the upcoming basic steps to starting a business in New Mexico event you have registered for, we would like to collect some preliminary information from you. And I want to see how many of you have done your pre-webinar evaluation. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of hands. I better see a lot of check marks when I log into the training event. But thank you, I appreciate that. It's actually a part of our deliverables to the Small Business Administration. So when you do our pre-survey evaluation and you do our post-survey evaluation, so you'll receive one probably today or tomorrow or this week with a survey link to rate the webinar. So please do both. You could always email me directly if you have any questions, but I can't resend pre-webinar evaluations. I could only resend the post-survey evaluations. And be sure to check your spam, junk, or clutter box for those. Very good. Now let's talk about starting a business in New Mexico. Before we go into the basic steps, there are some important things you must consider. Will I make enough money to live? Will this replace my current income? Do I need the benefits offered by my current employer, like retirement plans, medical insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, disability insurance, life insurance, or other important benefits? Can you replace those benefits by starting your business? You must also think about your educational background and skills. Do you have the correct educational background and skills to understand and operate the many facets of a business, including bookkeeping, accounting, human resources, supply chain management, sales, And that's just to name a few. If not, you might need to hire somebody to perform these tasks or obtain further training. I always recommend obtaining further training. And just to put all this in one packet, one perspective, we have a great document on our website called Test Your Potential as an Entrepreneur. It rarely opens from the slides for me, but it looks like it's going to open today. No results found. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to bring up the follow-up email website link, and let me copy and paste that into the chat for everybody so you could access it immediately. What am I sharing now? Perfect. This is the follow-up email, but you could access it with this link right here. So let me copy and paste that into the chat. And one of the top links is Test Your Potential as an Entrepreneur. And this is the document I wanted to show everybody today. So this is the Test Your Potential as an Entrepreneur document. It starts out with a survey of your skills. So this will help you understand where you might need more work, more training, or to hire somebody to take care of these skills that you might not have. Then it goes into some myths and misconceptions about entrepreneurship. Identifying startup ideas. Talks about a feasibility analysis, which I really do enjoy. Talks about estimating the cost of a startup. Helps you put your personal costs into a nice graph, so you know how much you need to make. It gives you a pro forma, we call this a pro forma, but estimated business operating costs. A recap of your costs. Here's the basic steps document on which this webinar is based. On the back of this document are government agencies you may need to contact when starting up a business. A business plan outline, and we have more resources on our website for sure, and I'll give you some more in the follow-up email. Talks about the supporting documents you'll need when applying for a business loan. Questions to be answered in the business plan. This is a great document that helps you answer those questions that you might not have covered when using our fill-in-the-blank template. Goes into marketing. Talks about some internal financial controls. It's a very good document, so I wanted to show you that. Let's go back to our website, or our slideshow, sorry. And let me make sure that's what you're seeing. Perfect, let's go on. So now we're into step one of the basic steps. So let's go through them one by one. The slides will be emailed to everybody, or you could access them on that link I sent you, so don't worry. Step one is defining the business. This is the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And these questions are answered in a business plan. And if you need a business loan, you must provide a business plan to a lender. And many centers use a fill-in-the-blank template, and I included that in the follow-up email. But there are many options for creating a business plan. There's online software called Live Plan. SBA.gov has a great training with worksheets and sample financial statements on their website. And we have more tools available on our website. I also want to point you towards the New Mexico Economic Development Department one-stop website for starting a business. It's gonm.biz. And this website was a partnership between some legislators and government agencies that decided all these resources needed to be in one place. So I showed you the basic steps handout already. Let's go to gonm.biz. And it looks like you're actually seeing what I'm seeing, which is good. So let me show you some of the financial resources available to those of you who want to start up a business. So on the Economic Development Department website, under Business Resources, we have the EDD programs for business. And there's a variety of programs, but I want to concentrate on the finance development portion. And the first program I want to highlight is LEDA, or the Local Economic Development Act. And if you are an existing business in New Mexico that wants to expand, or a new business that wants to start in New Mexico, they have funds set aside by the state that could be awarded to a municipality to refund you for some of those costs. But you have to meet some certain criteria. So let's look at what qualifies you. An industry, you have to be in an industry for the manufacturing, processing, or assembling of agricultural or manufactured products. You have to have a commercial enterprise for storing, warehousing, distributing, or selling products of agriculture, mining, or having been manufactured, or be an economic-based employer. And they define that as an employer who is deemed eligible for in-plant training assistance by the Economic Development Department's Job Training Incentive Program. If you have questions about the Job Training Incentive Program, put that in the chat. But what economic-based employer really means is you're making most of your money from outside of New Mexico. What kind of entities are not qualified? Well, those are going to be your service or your retail type businesses. And it's a really simple application process. And please put your questions in the Q&A if you have more questions about this program. But it can be used to reimburse you dollar for dollar for certain expenses for starting up or expanding a business in New Mexico. The next program I want to talk about is the Collateral Assistance Program. And what this program is it's a way for the state to guarantee loans through traditional or nonprofit lenders for people who don't meet the collateral requirements on a loan. So say you wanted to take out a $100,000 loan, you only had maybe equity in a home up to $50,000, you need another $50,000 of collateral to get this business loan. So you're going to build a building, you're going to buy a piece of property, you're going to buy inventory. And you have to be a small business, and this is a very inclusive program. So it just employs 750 employees or fewer, which is a pretty lax criteria, I think. And what can you use the loan proceeds for? Startup costs, working capital, franchise fees, equipment, inventory, bridge loans needed prior to the borrower obtaining permanent financing or support. And how it works, the state of New Mexico takes out some sort of financial instrument to guarantee a loan. And the businesses have to be located in New Mexico, preferably in rural areas of New Mexico. And they give preference to minority-owned, veteran-owned, and big job creators. But they only have a few lenders that participate. So enrolled banks, these are the banks or lenders that participate, and the lenders that really work hard to finance new business starts are the Lift Fund helps, DreamSpring, the Loan Fund, and West. Those are the community lenders and the micro lenders in New Mexico. So that's that program. Let's see if there are any other. There's not really any other programs I want to cover there. So that's a brief overview of some of the financing programs available through the Economic Development Department. Let's return to our slides. And before we go on from slide one, let me show you that fill in the blank business plan template that I have. So if you go to that follow-up email link, here is the SBDC at UNM Valencia business plan template. That's the template I like to use. I put our center's name on it, but it came from our center in Alamogordo. And I think it's one of the best business plans I've ever used. The SBA has great lessons on how to choose a business structure. And on the SBA's website, they have a learning platform. And on this learning platform, they have the Learning Center, and then they have a Cent for Women. So for all my women on the call today, if you want a business planning experience or a business growth experience catered for women, it's a great resource. They paid a lot of money for it, so take advantage of it. And then on the regular learning center, they have plan, and they have all these modules on how to write a business plan, legal requirements, buying a business, and young entrepreneurs. I put a direct link to this in the follow-up email, but I'll chat that over to everyone now. Okay, let's return to our slides. And let's go to step 2. There are legal considerations when choosing a business name, and step 2 is to choose a business name. And it's very important to find a name that resonates with your target market, looks good on websites, social media, business cards, and other marketing material, is easy to spell and pronounce, and isn't trademarked or copywritten by another business. For example, there was a restaurant in Albuquerque called Dee's Cheesecake Factory. It was on Lomas and Manal and Carlisle. I loved it. And if you grew up in Albuquerque, it was one of your favorite places for a sweet treat. The owners of Dee's Cheesecake Factory started the business after World War II and trademarked the name in the state of New Mexico. Fast forward to about 2010, there's a national chain called The Cheesecake Factory that wants to do business in New Mexico, but cannot operate a cheesecake restaurant with Cheesecake Factory in the name because the savvy business owners at Dee's reserved that business name many years before. In this example, the small business had the upper hand, but you could imagine how a small business operating under a trademark business name could end up being sued, have to change their business name and all their expensive marketing material, and it might actually destroy a new business. There are 2 types of trademarks, a state and a federal. The first website on the screen is for the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and the second is for the New Mexico Secretary of State's office. These are the 2 agencies responsible for registering trademarks. And since we can't provide legal advice, it's important for you to consult with an attorney before making a decision on a business name. And I'll show you some great resources later in the presentation, including the newest member of the SBDC team, the Technology Commercialization Accelerator at New Mexico Tech, staffed by Estefanita Rawlings, which provides no-cost counseling regarding intellectual property, patents, trademarks, copyrights, and so on. And I have a question, just before we move on, I have a question from Lizette. Can you repeat the names of the banks that really work on small business loan approval? That's going to be DreamSpring, the Loan Fund, and West, WESST. And I have a document I could chat out to everybody right now. It's let me see if I could find it. It's called SBA Lenders, something SBA Lenders. SBA Lenders and Lending Programs. And it's upside down. I'm sorry. I don't have Adobe Acrobat on my computer else I turned it around. The first page is upside down. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll get need financing. But just before that, we have the Community Advantage Lender, which is DreamSpring, and the participating micro lenders, the Loan Fund and West. And these are the lenders that really cater to people with not so good credit, startup businesses, those just entering a new industry. And they are non-for-profit, as I said, so they get pots of money from the federal government, they get pots of money from their own donors, and they also fund ideas that aren't federally approved. So they're great to reach out to. Okay, let's go back to our slideshow and let's go to step 3. Choose and register your legal structure. The legal structure of your business is its foundation. You must carefully consider how you wish to legally and tax-wise operate your business. The common business structures are on the slide. Everything but sole proprietorships must be registered with the New Mexico Secretary of State's office, and the paperwork is available online. More information about legal structures can be found in the document called Basics of Choosing a Business Entity on our website. And let me show you that from the follow-up email with the links I chatted out. If you didn't get this, and maybe you joined a little late or something, put that in the Q&A and I'll chat it out again at the end of the presentation. But the basics of choosing a business structure, a business entity, I call it, is right here. It goes over the laws under which you're governed as a business owner. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. And then it goes into the explanation of what is a limited liability entity, what is a sole proprietorship, so you could make a better decision regarding the legal structures. Also, I want to get into this because I get a lot of questions about it, but sole proprietorships, I mean, limited liability companies are taxed in two different ways. You have options with a limited liability company. You could be taxed as an S Corp, or you could be taxed as a sole proprietor. And those have ramifications for you, especially if you're married, if you have dependents. So it's best to consult with an attorney or CPA, certified public accountant, to see what's best for your personal financial status. An attorney or CPA could do all the paperwork for you, but I want to let you know it's available for you to do yourself at the Secretary of State's website. And Sylvia asked, doing an LLC as a sole proprietorship, do I need to register? Yes, to get the limited liability protection, you need to register as an LLC, but you don't have to opt to file your taxes as an S Corp when you get your EIN number. And it's best, Sylvia, to sit down with a counselor. They could explain this a little further with you. Take a drink, and then we'll move to step 1. Now that we're having fun talking about paperwork, let's talk about step 4. Obtain your federal employer identification number. This is the unique identification number issued to your business by the IRS and is used on all federal filings. And if you're a sole proprietor, your social security number is commonly used instead of an EIN number. But and this EIN number is just as important as a social security number, and it should be protected. One time I had a client who had their EIN number on their website. I almost had a cardiac arrest. It's like putting your social security number on Facebook or other social media. No matter what business entity you choose, even if you're a sole proprietor, it's a good idea to obtain an EIN number because most banks or credit unions will require you to have an EIN number before you could open up a bank account in the business name. And of course, the purpose of this EIN number is for you to pay your payroll taxes for your employees or yourself. And you only need, if you're a sole proprietor or you file your taxes as a sole proprietor, you're not paying yourself a wage, you're taking a draw. If you're a corporation, you may be paying yourself a wage, and you should have an EIN number so you could pay your federal payroll taxes. Continuing with our paperwork requirements, step 5 is to register with the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department to obtain a gross receipts tax ID number. They used to call it a CRS number. Now it's commonly referred to as a BTIN, or a business taxpayer identification number. And what the heck is it and why do you need it? Well, it's a unique identifying number used by the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department to record and track your business's collection and payment of gross receipts taxes. If gross receipts tax is a new term for you, you might recognize it as the tax you pay whenever you buy goods or services in New Mexico. It's usually around 8% and shows up at the bottom of your Walmart receipt. The online registration for your BTIN or your taxpayer identification number is free. It's available on the New Mexico Department of Taxation and Revenue's website. It's called the TAP website, or the Taxpayer Access Portal.state.nm.us. It's a little tricky when you're registering for the first time, so I recommend you sit down with a counselor while you do that. And it's basically entering the standard information. What kind of taxes do you need to pay? Almost everybody on this webinar right now will have to pay gross receipts. If you deal with something like gasoline or alcohol, you might have to pay an excise tax. If you drive a truck, you might have to pay a motor vehicle tax, and those taxes can all be paid on the TAP system. It's a very complicated subject for most people. That's why a lot of people go to a bookkeeper or an accountant, but they have a no-cost webinar series. So let me open that up from the slide. This one actually works. I spoke too soon. Let me open it up. Let me open up the follow-up email template. And then we have New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Workshops. And here is where you could register for the new, everybody on this call right now should register for the new business workshop. If you're going to have employees or plan to have employees in the near future, take the new employers workshop. And everybody on the call right now should consider sitting in on the federal IRS business workshop, where they have a CPA talk to you about your federal tax obligations. Step 6 is to obtain your local business license and other applicable licenses. And when doing business in New Mexico, you need a business license in the municipality or county where you have a physical presence. For instance, Tio Filo's restaurant has a physical presence in Los Lunas. They have a restaurant in Los Lunas. So they get a Village of Los Lunas business license. If they had a food truck and they did business in Los Lunas and Belen, they would have to obtain a full or temporary license in the city of Belen, as well as a full business license in Los Lunas. And some of you might be thinking that you're going to do business online or in another state. And this means getting a business license at any place where you'll physically conduct commerce, and each municipality and each county is different. For instance, the city of Rio Communities asks you to sketch a floor plan of your business. And some of my clients have come in and say, I'm just working out of a room in my home. They still want you to sketch a floor plan of that room in your home. And the Socorro County actually doesn't have a law where they require a business license. They just ask that you get your gross receipts tax ID number or your BTIN before you begin business in Socorro County. So that's and then take Albuquerque, for instance. You have the city of Albuquerque. You have Bernalillo County. Here, where I live in Los Lunas, we have Bosque Farms, Peralta, Los Lunas, Belen, and Valencia County. So all of those municipalities, even though we're the same size as Bernalillo County, we have all those municipalities. So keep that in mind and make sure you keep in good contact with your municipal or county office where you're going to do business. And Cameron asks, for a service that can be offered in Santa Fe and Albuquerque, would I need a business license for Albuquerque? Probably. You would probably need a full, if you perform the services in Albuquerque, I bet you the city of Albuquerque would require you to have a full or temporary business license in the city of Albuquerque. But you, Cameron, please check with the municipal office. And Cameron says his business is digital marketing. That's where it gets tricky because the laws have not caught up with digital sales, digital marketing, offering a service online via Zoom, doing a webinar like this. So if I charge for this webinar, I have people coming from Northwest New Mexico, all the way down to Southeast New Mexico. Where do I pay the taxes? The municipalities and counties usually want their cut. So you would just have to ask them, or you could talk to an accountant for more information on that. And Ethan, I saw your question. Well, I'll send out that link again at the end of the presentation. Step 7 is to report new hires to the New Mexico directory. The link to the directory is on the slide, but this brings human resources considerations into light. Human resources is a very important part of any business and comes with many legal and accounting considerations. You can always contact an accountant and an attorney for specific information, but I included 2 good links for learning resources, for learning more about employment procedures and laws. Our partners at ComplyRight, and ComplyRight is a for-profit business, and they sponsor the America's Small Business Development Conference often. And they have a blog that's just great. They have short webinars. They have handouts on how to handle a lot of things. And then the second link is for the EEOC, or the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. I got it right on the first try. And the EEOC investigates and protects employment based on the protected classes. So that's race, creed, color, national origin. There's 7 of them, and I can't remember the last 3 right now. But if somebody feels discriminated against in employment practices because of one of those protected classes, they could go to the EEOC, and you could be investigated, fined, legal action could happen. So they have a great guide for small businesses. So please make sure, if you're going to be an employer, you take a look at that guide. Keeping with the HR trend, step 8 is, if you have employees, you may need to complete Form ES 802. And this is a required form for the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions or Connections. Here in Los Lunas, we have a Workforce Connections. Those in Albuquerque have a Workforce Solutions. They provide most of the same services. The DWS, or the Department of Workforce Solutions, has many services, tax credits, and learning opportunities for small business owners. So I included their business outreach website on the slide. And some common services that the DWS offers are job postings. That's the biggest one. Pre-employment screenings like typing tests. And in some cases, they provide space to conduct interviews. And I've been hearing from a lot of clients, it's hard to find and retain good employees. And sometimes the best thing you could do is have pre-employment screenings like typing tests to make sure you recruit the best employee, and explore your HR options for retaining that employee. But let's look at the website here. It's dws.state.nm.us. And it takes you directly to the business page. And let's see what you should read. That they have an employer handbook. So that's unemployment insurance employer handbook. They have information on starting a new business. If you're already in business and want to have an intern, they have internship opportunities. They have apprentice programs. They have a job description writer, which is really cool. And then their hiring incentives. So say you're in an industry like construction, where you might get a lot of applicants that might have a felony in their past. Maybe it's a sensitive, maybe you're working in bookkeeping, you want to hire somebody who has an embezzlement charge in their past. They'll take out like an insurance policy to save you from any loss. And then there's some work opportunity tax credits, mainly for hiring veterans. But visit this website if you're interested in having employees, because it's really where you need to be. So let's put that website away for now. Let's go back to our slides. Step 9 is, if you have employees, seek the assistance of an accountant, because you could see all the tax acronyms on the screen: SUTA, FUTA, FIT, SIT. Whew. And if you aren't willing or able to deal with collecting and paying these taxes, it's best to seek out the assistance of a bookkeeper or an accountant. The IRS website also has a wealth of information about your federal tax obligations. And my favorite is their Small Business and Self-Employed Tax Center. The link on the slide doesn't always work for me on my UNM computer, but the link on the follow-up email does work. So let's see. ComplyRight, IRS Self-Employed Individuals Tax Center. And on this tax center, they have online learning. And then they have Small Business Virtual Tax Workshop. I'm going to chat out a direct link to this virtual tax workshop. And I recommend everybody who wants to start a business review it. Step 10 is to seek the assistance of an attorney. And we talked about some important legal landmines in starting and operating a business. Attorneys are licensed to answer these questions. And there's some resources for you. I wanted to, the resource I mainly wanted to tell you about during this presentation was or is the State Bar of New Mexico. So on www.statebarnm.org, this is the follow-up email link. If you take a look at that link, it takes you to the State Bar of New Mexico's website. And under For the Public, find an attorney. They have a database of the attorneys who passed the bar in New Mexico in different service areas. So I like to use the practice counties, and we could use Valencia County as an example today. And then you could do practice areas, business and corporations. And these are the attorneys that practice business law. And it shows you what county they're in, which county they're located. So it looks like Valencia County, we have one. It looks like we only have one located in Valencia County. I thought we had two. And then some people practice in New Mexico, but they're located elsewhere like Denver. Valencia, yes, we have two. So this could make it a little bit easier for you to find an attorney. Let's go back to our slides. Step 11 is to review the guidelines for compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And if you're going to have a storefront or employees or both, you really need to review the guidelines for compliance with the ADA, because there are people who sue and make a living suing small businesses based on their ADA compliance. And if you're not compliant, it could cause a lot of problems for you. And just so you are in compliance, the ADA has a website with a primer for small business on the ADA. So make sure you keep those in the back of your mind. Make sure you read about the resources before you get into any legal trouble. Step 12 is to establish a business bank account, and it's best practice to keep your personal and business finances separate. And this makes your bookkeeping processes easier, and it will help your business if you ever have an audit. The banking services for businesses are different than those for individuals. So I always like to give the resource for the FDIC, or the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, Money Smart for Small Business curriculum. So they started a curriculum just for small business owners to be good with their money. And if you look at the follow-up email, and let me chat that out once more now so everybody has access to this link. If you look under FDIC Money Smart for Small Business, they have training resources available for you on a variety of topics. My favorite are the banking services. If you have the time, take all of their modules. Is owning a business good for you? Planning for a healthy business. I think they're just great. They were kind of community service from the big banks when they got bailed out in 2008. They created this great curriculum, so take advantage of it. And we are on the home stretch. We are on our final step. Step 13 is to have adequate insurance coverage. This slide shows the common types of insurance coverage, but I recommend you research your options with an independent insurance broker. Oftentimes, independent insurance brokers sell insurance for many different companies and tend to be less biased. They also tend to be small businesses also. And you could learn more about business insurance by visiting the link on that slide. It's for hitchcox.com/SBDC. Hitchcox is one of the largest business insurers in the nation. They are also a sponsor of the Small Business Development Centers, America's Small Business Development Centers Conference. And they have a website just for our clients to learn more about the different types of insurance coverage. By no means do you have to purchase from them. Again, I do recommend you reach out to an independent insurance broker local to your business. And if you need a list of insurance brokers in the area, reach out to your business advisor because we have resources to find that for you. Oh, now that we covered all 13 steps to starting a business, I want to share with you some research tools that you could use to gain insights into industry analyses, market research, demographics, and traffic counts. These data tools are very, very important to the success of your business because they help you fill in your business plan and they help you make informed decisions and plan for the future. But before I go into them, I want to look at our Q&A. Ethan, I did chat that out again, and all the links that I'm mentioning are in there. So perfect. I'll open it up for questions while I take a sip of lemonade. And if we don't have any questions, I will start demonstrating the research tools for you. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions. So the first 4 links are available to everybody on the call today. They're public. And the ones bolded at the bottom of the screen, those are databases you have access to as SBDC clients, but you have to meet with your advisor to use them. So the first link is a great 30-minute webinar from the SBA's website on how to write a business plan. And they also provide great worksheets and examples of financial statements. The second link is for bplans.com by Palo Alto Software. And that website provides you with numerous business plan examples. The third is for the Census Business Builder, and I'll demonstrate this one for you today. And this is a no-cost database that allows you to find demographic information about your customers, census stats about businesses in your industry, and estimates of yearly household expenditures. The last link is for Middle Rio Grande Council of Governments Interactive Traffic Counts map. This map allows you to enter an address and see what the average weekday and average weekly traffic counts are for a stretch of road. If you aren't in the Albuquerque metro area, they publish this information in reports. If you are in the Albuquerque metro area, you have access to the interactive map. So let me look at the Q&A. And Sylvia says, just moved to New Mexico as their tax on services. And yes, indeed, Sylvia, there is. It's we do gross receipts. So that's gross sales tax. We don't have we don't limit our tax on goods and services. Ethan, how do we connect with an advisor? I would visit the website www.nmsbdc.org, and there is a tab called Locations. I would find the location nearest you, and you would, and that will display the contact information for an advisor in your area. Perfect. Okay, let me demonstrate Census Business Builder for you because I love Census Business Builder, and it's a free one. Remember, it's all open to the public. I just Google Census Business Builder. The link is in the follow-up email. And I look for the census.gov web address. And there's 2 types. There's the small business edition and the regional analyst edition. If you're in a place with multiple zip codes, a larger municipal area, the regional analyst edition is a little bit nicer to use. If you're in the majority of New Mexico, which is a rural area, the small business edition is the best for you. So this is what you see when you open up the small business edition. If you're looking to go into an industry that's one of the common industries, so construction, personal service, food service, healthcare, or retail, they have little buttons here you could press to find the code associated with that industry. If you are in a more niche market code, ask your SBDC advisor what your NAICS code is, or NAICS, N-A-I-C-S code is, and you could better find information on your industry. Today, we're just going to press food service. This database is kind of clunky. It's best not to use it at the peak time of the day like I am right now. It could also be my browser. Maybe I have to use Firefox. It doesn't always like Chrome. Looks like the database is being a bit finicky with me today. So I'll demonstrate that one when it lets me. So it's liking Chrome today. We'll choose restaurants, and you could search based on state, metro area, county, city or town, or zip code. I'll open it up right now. If anybody wants to put in the chat a zip code, I'll look up that zip code. Oh, the first one, George 88001. I want to say that's Socorro. And you have two options. You could go to map or you could create a report. I don't like the map because it takes up a lot of computer power. I prefer the report, and I'm a more read it and learn type of person anyway. So let's see what's in this report. So it gives you demographic characteristics about that area. So let's, where is this place? George, you're going to have to tell me where 88001 is. But it's a large area. So it gives you total population, breaks down the population into different, oh, that's Las Cruces, no wonder. Gives you the median household income in the zip code, percent high school degree, socioeconomic characteristics. If you're a tradesperson on the call today, it gives you some housing characteristics. So it tells you how many housing units there are, what the median owner-occupied unit value is, what the monthly rent would be compared to owning a house. So it's cheaper to buy a home than to rent in Las Cruces, it looks like, or at least that zip code. If the area was big enough, it would tell you about employer businesses, like tell you how much money an employee makes per employer. But it's not large, the zip code's not large enough for this data to be available. My favorite part of this report, and I think the most useful, is the consumer spending. So in this zip code, this is per household per year, the expenditure per household per year in these different categories. So let's see, we have, if we want to stay with the restaurant theme, this is how much the average household spends per year on breakfast away from the home or dining out on breakfast. So then you could start to explore different areas. So this is that zip code. This is the Las Cruces zip code. If Business Builder wants to cooperate with us, we'll type in 87111. Create a report on 87111, which is Northeast Albuquerque. A larger population in that zip code, a larger household income. And then we could go down to, still we don't get business stats, it's still too small for that, but we could see how much are they spending on breakfast away from the home? Almost 3 times as much. So this could help you make decisions like, where should I put my business? Where should I spend my marketing dollars? If you were an online business, you could see, how much are people spending on women's apparel in this zip code compared to a Beverly Hills 90210, probably a larger expenditure in Beverly Hills 90210. Should I spend marketing dollars to promote my business in 87 or 90210 compared to 87111? That's what this kind of research could help you with. And your business plan, they'll also ask you questions like, what is the total market value? And that's usually households times the average expenditure. So is it $1 million industry? Is it a 6-figure industry in your area? The only way you could find out is to review the data. And we could pull a report, and I'm going to show you that next. I see a hand raised, George. I'll open it up at the end of the presentation, but I hope nothing is going wrong with anybody else and you could see and hear me. I'm going to lower your hands for now. So the next database tool I want to show you is something that we have access to as business advisors, and I get access to the UNM library. And I want to show you IBIS World. How often is the data updated? Well, this was 2020. Some of it's updated every 2 years. Most of it's updated every 4 years. So George was asking how often is the data updated on Census Business Builder? Pretty current. It's pretty current. Let me show you IBIS World. So what IBIS World is it's a database of industry reports put together by business analysts and economists. And let's use restaurants as an example. Single location full service restaurants in the US. Say you want to start this type of business. You really need to look at one of these reports before you go into the business. And I opened it in Word. I meant to open it in PDF. And let me go over the high points of this report with you. So the first part of this is the supply chain, and it goes into key external drivers or key economic drivers. So what's happening in the economy that makes your business grow or decline? So for restaurants, it's consumer spending, consumer confidence index, healthy eating index, households earning more than $100,000, and urban population. So these are the suppliers for the industry, and these are the buyers. So this restaurant serves consumers directly. Some businesses serve other businesses and consumers. This tells you if the drivers are growing, declining, or staying the same, and this is between 2017 and 2022. So it looks like most of the drivers are doing pretty well, except consumer confidence. We don't have a good view of the future of our economy. But the households earning more than 100,000 has increased. Healthy eating index has stayed the same. An urban population has increased, and consumer spending has increased, which are all good omens for this type of business. So revenue in that business is projected to grow 1.7% between 22 and 2027. I like that. Profit in this industry is going to grow just slightly. The profit margin in this industry is 5%. So that means about 5 cents out of every dollar will go into this business's profit. The number of businesses in this industry is going to grow 2% between 2022 and 2027. Employment's going to grow slightly, as well as wages. And then it goes into a lot of narrative. Then it tells you the products and services that are most popular across the US. So these reports are national. So it looks like the most popular type of restaurant are Asian restaurants, followed by US restaurants. So if I was going to go into a business and I had my heart set on maybe a pizza restaurant or a steakhouse, might not be the way to go. Gives a SWOT analysis, or the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Gives a lot of narrative. Tells you how the business revenue in this business does compared to the drivers, like consumer spending and consumer confidence. So as the people view the economy is not so good, and they're not spending as much, the revenue in restaurants will decline. This is the V-shaped recovery we would hear a lot about in the news. And then it looks like we're going to increase right after COVID, like maybe we have seen an increase right after COVID, and we're going to see a decline to where it was about before COVID happened. It will tell you where this business is in the industry life cycle. So full service restaurants are in the decline. That just means more will close than open in the next few years. It tells you who your major markets are. So if I was in a place like that zip code where the average household income was $29,000 a year, it might not be the best place for a single location full service restaurant, because the single location full service restaurants rely on households earning more than $100,000. That's almost half of their market. So those are the high points of the IBIS World report. The next database I want to show you is called Data Excel. It used to be called Reference USA, and I still call it Reference USA, so forgive me. And George, you can only navigate to IBIS World by visiting with an advisor. We pay for access to these tools, and only we have access to them. So Data Excel is like a phone book on steroids, and it gives you insights into your market. So if you are a business that caters to other businesses, or you're doing your business plan and they ask you for your competition, or like if you're my star client in 2017 Valencia flour mill, you make just add water, sopapilla, and fry bread mix for restaurants, and you want to find Mexican restaurants to sell your products to. Ooh, tamales wholesale, that sounds good. Or maybe you just want to sell to all restaurants, because I don't have the code off the top of my head for Mexican restaurants. Maybe you only want to concentrate on a certain service area. Maybe you only want to sell to restaurants in the Albuquerque metro area. Maybe you don't only want one contact per restaurant. And maybe you only want to sell to restaurants that are privately owned, so small businesses. We could pull a list of those restaurants in the Albuquerque metro area, and you could gain better insights into which restaurants are privately owned in this area. A lot of enchilada, that's cute. That we could open that up and we could see what information it gives us. And we could see what the location sales volume is. So if you were wanting to start a privately owned single location full service restaurant in the Albuquerque metro area that's similar to a lot of enchilada, we could probably estimate that you're going to have a $48,000 worth of sales. Maybe let's pick another one at random. Abuelitas. They do a lot more in sales. Maybe it's their location, maybe it's the food. We would just have to analyze that. But this could help you with the business planning, and it could help you with sales too. My favorite part of this is the consumer lifestyles. And if you remember when we looked up that IBIS World report on single location full service restaurants, it thrived on households earning more than $100,000. So we want to find where are they the most, what zip code in New Mexico has the most households in $100,000 or more income. because that might be a great place to put a single location full service restaurant. Would it not? And the answer to that's yes. So let's do state, let's do New Mexico. We could drill down we could even do like a radius from an address if we wanted to. So there's a lot of high income earners, and it gives you the names and addresses. So say I wanted to start this restaurant up. It served all of New Mexico for some reason. I could send a postcard to these households. You cannot call them or email them unless you purchase these from the database provider. But say we could put all these on a map, or at least the first 10 pages. Let's see how many pages it will let me select. And then we could put this on a map. And see what county has the most or a lot of households earning 100,000 or more, because that's where you want to put a full service single location restaurant. And let's see, Doña Ana, so Las Cruces looks like a good place. Eddy County, I wouldn't have expected that in Eddy County, but it looks like Eddy County might be a great place to do that, even though there aren't as many as in Doña Ana County. That's a lot for a small rural area of New Mexico. Luna County, I probably wouldn't go into Luna County, probably not Socorro County, probably not, definitely not Catron County. Lee County, that's another surprise for me. That looks like a great place. We might skip Roosevelt, Debaca, San Miguel. Taos looks like a great place, single location, full service restaurant. Los Alamos, Rio Arriba County, which I think that's Santa Fe area, Espanola-ish. San Juan, that's where Farmington is. Yep, that's a great place. Valencia County, we have a lot of single location full service restaurants here, and that's probably because we have this driver of population of 100,000, a large population of households earning 100,000 or more. Santa Fe, great place. Grant County, Curry County, those are two surprises for me. Sandoval County, Rio Rancho, yeah, great place. Chavez County, that's another one I wouldn't have thought of. And Bernalillo County, of course. So that's Reference USA in a nutshell, but that's a great representation of the data you could get from Reference USA. I said I would demonstrate the traffic counts for you, I believe, so. Chat out the direct link for the Albuquerque metro area traffic counts map. And on this interactive map, I love this map. One time I sat with the mayor of Belen and we just talked about why we thought there was no traffic on certain roads. But if like say you're wanting to go into a storefront and there's a storefront available on, I don't know, let's see. Edith Boulevard, and that stretch right there, we could see what the average daily and average weekday traffic counts are in 2021. So this is a year behind compared to one, say maybe on Paseo del Norte. Might be a little bit more expensive for this storefront, but let's see, you're getting, compared to 8,000, you're getting 50,000 people passing that. So if you're a laundromat, a gas station, one of those older types of retail businesses that relies on people seeing your business, that would be a great way to make a decision on what street, what stretch of road you'd want your business located on. If you were a consulting service, maybe that place on Edith would be a great place for you. Or if you were a manufacturer, you didn't need a lot of people seeing your business. Yeah, go down to Edith for sure. Let's see, Harper Drive. They don't have that many passersby there. Because this is a rule, this is more of a neighborhood. And McKinney, let's compare that to McKinney where there are businesses. Yeah, a lot more traffic on McKinney. So those are my secret little tools that aren't so secret anymore. I tell you guys, take advantage of what's free, meet with a business advisor, and explore some of these resources a bit more. This is the follow-up email. Most all of the links I shared today are on it. Let me go back to our slide presentation. Make sure you're actually seeing the slide presentation. Perfect. And now let me finish up our slides and then I'll take questions. So now that we talked about how we could help you, this is how you could help the SBDC. As part of our offering our services, we need your help to ensure we're around for more years to come. So we ask that you participate in our surveys, report economic impacts because of our assistance to your advisor or director, and write a letter of support to your local legislators about your experience with the SBDC. All information is kept confidential and is only reported in aggregate to our funders, the state of New Mexico, and the Small Business Administration. This slide provides contact information for the Small Business Development Center programs, PTAC or the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, IBA or the International Business Accelerator, and the New Mexico Tech Technology Commercialization Accelerator. The Procurement Technical Assistance Center is a government-funded program providing assistance to small businesses who want to sell their goods or services to the government, educational institutions, or tribal entities. The International Business Accelerator is a one-stop shop of resources for New Mexican businesses and individuals wishing to introduce their product or service into the global market. And the New Mexico Tech Technology Commercialization Accelerator offers no-cost confidential counseling regarding intellectual property. This slide continues the list of Small Business Resource Partners, SCORE, or the Service Corps of Retired Executives, WEST, or the Women's Business Center Program, and VBOC, or the Veterans Business Outreach Center. So WEST not only is a lender, they also provide technical assistance. So take advantage of that service. And it's great to get multiple opinions. So maybe get an opinion, get some advice from the SBDC, get some advice from WEST, go to the Veterans Business Outreach Center, contact SCORE, because we could help you in a multitude of different ways. Here is the contact information for your small business support team. We are funded by the SBA, and many people ask about SBA loans. So I put a link to our SBA resource guide, but let's see if it wants to work. It does not want to work today. It looks like they did something a little different with the resource guide. And I still have some guides that they published in the office here. But the guide used to have a list of all the lenders, and I did send that to you. I chatted that over to everybody. So take a look at that, the item I chatted over. We have and then we have the New Mexico Economic Development Department. I went over some of the programs they have available to you, but these are all organizations that support small business. And that concludes our presentation for today. I'm going to open it up for questions now, so put your questions in the Q&A. If you have questions and want to speak, you could raise your hand, but I'm going to take a 2-minute break and then I'll be right back. And I want to come back to lots of questions. Okay, I don't see answer. I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A or chat, everybody. If you have any questions, now is the time to answer them. I'll be happy to do that. I don't see any hands up, but if you do have a question and want to raise your hand and speak, you're welcome to do so. Okay, Sylvia, no questions, but thank you. Well, thank you for attending, Sylvia. Susan says no questions. Well, thank you for attending. I am not seeing any questions from you guys. Let's see. No questions. I've never had no questions, but it's very nice to rest my voice for a little while. Enrique says applause. Thank you. And George says I answered all his questions. Well, good. Maybe I'll do Q&A throughout the presentation more often. And thank you, Cameron. I'm glad you thought my explanations were great. So I won't keep you here. If you would like to go ahead and leave, you're welcome to. Erica says, what was the first starting process? The step one to starting a business is planning the business. So if we want to revisit that on the map, on the slideshow. Yeah, define the business, doing a business plan. Kulu asked, appreciate you sharing a lot of great info. Well, thanks for attending. Thank you. And you know what makes people want to ask questions a little bit more is if I stop recording.